So we already left Turkey, and in this video we're gonna share with you the positive sides and the negative sides and why we made the final decision to leave and go traveling. We were actually thinking about it for about a couple of months already, and I even shared a community post about our struggles that we are thinking, should we stay, should we go? Yeah, and final decision was made somewhere at the end of September, or maybe even like in the middle of September, that yeah, we have to go. We didn't share it right away because we had some videos from Turkey for you, but now finally we are in another country already, a country that we wanted to revisit for a long time, and now we are ready to share our impressions about Turkey for the year that we lived there. Yeah, and actually your supportive comments that you will follow us wherever we go, that you would be interested to see other countries too. That gave us a bit more courage to go out and explore.
We want to find our forever home, and we are going to explore different countries to find the place that we think is most suitable for us to stay for long term, for our forever home.
Or forever homes, who knows? Maybe there will be multiple homes, preferably. Yeah, so this season is gonna be all about Southeast Asia. We're gonna visit quite some countries here. In the next video we will share the first one. Let's keep this as a
surprise.
as a surprise. Yeah.
Of course, if you want to gamble, put your gambles down below.
Yeah.
And where we are right now.
First we wanted to share what we really liked about living in Turkey, and then explain why eventually we did make a decision to leave.
And it wasn't an easy choice to make.
Yeah, it was not. It was not easy.
Well, one of the things that we really liked about Turkey was the low cost of living. You get a good quality life for an affordable amount of money.
Yeah, at some point I think it was one of the most affordable places to live, like ever. Maybe with the exception of very poor countries, but out of developed countries it was really, really low cost.
Yeah, as long as you don't drink alcohol or not not too much, then it's really affordable. And
yeah,
indeed.
For our lifestyle it was just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing we really loved in Turkey was how safe overall it was, especially in Antalya, in Liman where we lived. There was no crime, at least we didn't see anything. There were no pickpockets or anything like that. I mean, I could walk the streets wherever I wanted by myself. I was not scared to do it. And yeah, overall people were friendly and nice.
And another thing that we really liked was the infrastructure, but also the restaurants, the shops, public transport. Yeah, it's actually similar to what I'm used to in Europe. A good tram, a lot of buses going to the city center and from the city center to everywhere.
Yeah. There is no actual metro, no underground metro, but there is a tram, like Renee said, which is quite convenient. It takes you from the airport to the city. It didn't go to our area, unfortunately, but we still had buses. So for a big city like that, I think they have quite an efficient system.
Yeah, I agree.
It's also very clean. Like I know in some European American cities, the metro is seen as a very dirty place, very crowded. And yeah, in Turkey it can be crowded, but it's modern and clean, which is really good.
Yeah, for sure. And also the different shops. There are local affordable shops, like basically really inexpensive. But there are also the normal shops, like the medium spending wise, and also the high-end shops where you can find all the products that you are used to in Europe or wherever you're coming from. Yeah. Basically for any budget there's a shop available.
Another thing is, I think, why every foreigner comes to live in Turkey, in Antalya, is the proximity, the close proximity to the beach. And there are further away areas, but most of the foreigners live in Konyaaltı or in Lara, which is always something like 10 to up to 20 minutes from the beach. Sometimes it's right on the beach, or you can just, like us, we lived around 10 minutes from the beach. We could walk, and quite often we walked, and we really enjoyed, even though it's the same walk every time, but quite often we would walk, and it's like, yeah, we are so lucky, so privileged to just be able to walk to the beach and to look at the mountains, and and all of that for, like we said, a very affordable price. So that was one of the highlights, I think, for us.
Yeah, it felt like going on a holiday.
Yeah, mini holiday.
Mini holiday.
Every time you go there.
Yeah, so that was definitely a big plus. And also the climate in Turkey, I think. I mean, in the Netherlands. People from the Netherlands, shout out. We know the weather in the Netherlands.
And just in general in Northern Europe.
Yeah, it's raining a lot, and like 2 or 3 weeks in the whole year it's like 30-35 degrees, and then it's freakishly hot, and then the next day it's like 10-15 degrees lower. I mean, who can handle that?
And in Turkey, well, it was in December, January, a bit windy and rainy, but overall like manageable for 2.5 months. And then you have a really nice mild weather, and only in summer months it gets a bit hot, like Thailand hot.
A bit hot. Okay. The good months were like April, May, June.
March as well. March as
yeah,
well.
March too. But July and August it was like freakishly hot, 35 to 40 degrees. And then September, October, November were really good months again.
Really good.
Yeah.
But overall, if you again compare to Southern Europe, it is a similar climate.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of expats and retired people are looking at those countries like Portugal, Spain.
Yeah.
And I think Turkey is an affordable alternative to those countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And also Turkey is quite developed in infrastructure overall, so there is an airport in every major city on the Mediterranean, and it's very easy to get there from Europe on a direct flight. From America it's probably more complicated, and also Turkey is essentially in between of Europe and Asia, so there are flights to Europe and to Asia if you want to go there.
Yeah, flights from Europe to Turkey are also affordable, and flying inside the country, inside Turkey, is really affordable.
Again, all the major touristy destinations in Turkey, you can just book a direct flight to there, and it was really good for us. We went to Izmir, we went to Istanbul,
Trabzon.
Marmaris, Trabzon, Antalya, Alanya. All of those cities are just within a short flight. Yeah, so if you live in just one city in Turkey, you can also travel everywhere. Essentially, you never get bored like us. Yeah,
I agree.
So that was really fun to do within that year that we lived there.
And also it's really expat friendly. There's quite the expat community, I think. Maybe less than in some other countries, but still there are enough expats to come around and go around.
It feels like it's growing, the community is growing.
Yeah, that too indeed. There are more co-workings, like international co-workings, where international people, digital nomads, meet up.
And in the city center there is now a co-working that is owned by another Dutch guy.
Yep.
Also Turkey is famous for its healthcare, that it's really good. We never had serious health problems there, but as residents we could get a vaccine for free, for example. And dental care there was affordable, and I know a lot of people even travel for medical reasons to Turkey to take care of their teeth, to get a nose job or hair transplants. We actually met people who did it. And they also said that it was very affordable. Turkey is known to be good for that. So I think for people who plan to retire there, it's very important. And in Antalya, it looks like it's a very accessibility-friendly city, and people with disabilities, we do see them on the beach, on the promenade, people who use wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And
even on the beach, there's a small area of beach that's specifically for people with wheelchairs and things like that.
Yeah, so they have ramps and everything.
Extra lifeguards and everything that are accommodating them.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of international schools that we could see in Antalya, at least. Yeah, and they all look good.
Yeah, so if you have children, we don't have children, so we cannot testify for the quality of the education, but we do see many schools around. Even in our building, we had an international school, international daycare, I think.
Yeah, international kindergarten.
Yeah.
There they spoke English, but also Russian, I think, and also Turkish. Well, overall, the communication with locals, it's easy to do. Sometimes it's with hand and feet, other times it's in small English, a little bit of Turkish, things like that. But overall, the locals are really friendly, and they are trying everything they can to help you, to talk to you, things like that. Yeah, so overall, the communication.
We felt quite very welcome, and we didn't feel any aggression towards us as foreigners or anything. So I think that's really important when you're living abroad, to feel welcome. Other thing is cheap shopping. As you saw on my channel, I have some shopping mall videos, and Turkey has their own brands of affordable clothing. Basically, it's in every shopping mall, and clothes there are quite affordable. And sizing wise, for example, in Asia, it's hard to find clothes for European people because we are just of different shapes and sizes than Asian people, for example. And Turkey is kind of in the middle with that, and so that makes it easier to find clothes that will fit your height and your body type if you're from Europe or Northern America. Yeah, and quite a variety as well, and affordable. So that's definitely a plus when you're living there long term.
Yeah, and they still also have the European or American brands if you really want to. Prices are, I think, comparable to Europe, America, but maybe a bit more expensive or cheaper in some circumstances.
So yeah, if we liked so much about Turkey, why did we decide to live in the end? Yeah, we really actually were hoping that we would stay, and we wanted to renew our residency permit, and we even really wished we could stay in our apartment. That you can check out the previous video on our channel that we made a room tour for you, apartment tour, and it's a really nice apartment, and we were hoping we could stay, but
yeah, for another year at least.
But yeah, it didn't work out for us, and actually one of the main reasons that pushed us to leave is the situation with apartment rentals at the moment in Antalya and basically everywhere in big city in Turkey where there are a lot of foreigners. And essentially when we started to look for a new apartment, because we couldn't renew our previous one, the conditions were unfortunately that we couldn't renew it.
Yep.
And when we started looking on Sahibinden, essentially for the price quality, we couldn't, even for like 10,000 lira, that was our budget that we set for ourselves. It's $550, I think. Yep. Something like that. And you must know that before a good price would be $300 or 350, maybe. Yep. Like that. So we already went higher in price because the current situation is that the demand is very high. So we were looking for 550, and we did find something that we liked, and I called the agent, and the conditions are the deposit, the payment, the commission to the agent, and the payment for the whole year.
For the rent.
Yeah, and that is essentially, from what I know, I don't know it very well, I don't know Turkish laws perfectly, but from what I'm reading, that's against the law to ask for the whole year. Yeah, they want to protect themselves, of course. They want to be sure that the foreigners will stay for the whole year and will not just leave. And they want to get their money for the whole year right away, because it's in Turkish lira and it devalues really quickly. So they want to get all the money for the year, convert them to US dollars, and that way protect the money. But for us, it's like, it's too much to pay for the whole year. And who knows what will happen. Maybe we do have to leave for some personal reasons. We don't want to lose that much money. So yeah, that was our main issue.
Inflation in Turkey, I think it's all over the news, even in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
That in Turkey the inflation is high at the moment. Yeah, and we could see it daily. Prices kept rising and rising and rising.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons why the apartments, the rent for them also went up that much. But also for other things, for salmon, for example, we noticed it, even we.
First world problem, prices for salmon.
First world problems, indeed. In the Netherlands I would pay so much more, and in Turkey I just refused to buy the salmon because the price went up too much.
Yeah, but it is hard mentally to always adjust the price in your head in local currency. Mentally you get tired from it. Your brain can never settle on a certain thing. Your brain has to always change the price in your head, and that can be a bit, after a year of prices changing all the time, it becomes a bit hard. And it's of course much harder for Turkish people who earn in Turkish lira. For them it's like completely crazy. Your salary stays the same and the price changes every other week. It grows, but it does make your life there a bit more unpredictable. Yeah, and
Yeah, even we started to say at some point to each other that things became more expensive, where actually the price in US dollar was staying more or less the same.
Yeah.
But we started to saying to each other, it's getting so much more expensive, and in the end, it wasn't really even getting more expensive for ourselves. Yeah, and another thing that was always more expensive already in Turkey were the cars and the electronics.
Yeah.
The cars are more expensive because there's a high tax on cars in Turkey, and the more powerful the engine, or the heavier the engine, the more tax there's on it. So if you have like a more expensive car, then the tax can be even 200% from Europe or another country.
I think even when you come with your own car, you can stay for
2
a
years.
year. 2 years. So if you're staying like long term, after 2 years, I think you have to live for 6 months.
Yeah, but watch out, because your driving license is only valid for 6 months. If you go out with your car in after those 6 months, then you are not allowed to return right away with that car. So you have to find another way to renew your driving license than to go out with your car.
Or you can get a local driver's license, but we didn't look into it. How is that going? Yeah. Do you have to speak Turkish, or do you have to have a translator maybe? Probably there are ways to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and also electronics. The tax on electronics is high. We looked into buying iPhone there, and that was quite expensive. Only on the moment where basically the Turkish lira dropped a lot. That was the moment, because they did not change the price right away. That was the only moment where it was cheaper basically than in Europe.
Yeah.
But otherwise, electronics in general are quite a bit more expensive.
I think especially for people who come from America, essentially maybe what they don't know is that everywhere else, the iPhones and even some other brands of electronics, they will be much more expensive than in America. So watch out for that, be prepared for that. Even compared to Europe, prices for quite some brands will be higher than you're used to. If you're bringing your phone from abroad to Turkey, you can only use it for so many months, it's 3 to 6 months. And then it gets blocked, and the solution is to pay a tax, and the tax is quite high for it. So I recommend doing a research on that when you're bringing your phone, or it might be easier to just buy a new phone in Turkey, even if it's more expensive. And if something that can matter for you is that right now in Turkey, the political situation can be a bit unstable. You know, countries have their issues between themselves, and the situation with Greece might be a concern. And of course, we are not political experts, but if that is something that's important for you, I recommend researching it before coming to Turkey, so you are aware of what you will have to be dealing with when you're living in the country.
Even though the food in Turkey is good and we like it, there are also some downsides, especially for me, because I am gluten intolerant, or whatever I am. That doesn't matter so much. But I don't eat bread, at least not.
What? You go to Turkey and you don't eat bread?
Well, if it's gluten-free, then I eat it, but otherwise. And yeah, there's a lot of bread, a lot of ekmek, how they call it, a lot of bread in Turkey.
Heavy on bread, heavy on meat.
Yeah.
And it can be a very good thing if you like bread and you like meat.
Well, actually, the sad part is that I like both. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it is what it is. You can't have all in life, I guess. So yeah, that actually for other countries, for example, that makes it for me more difficult in Turkey. Not impossible, but yeah, more difficult to have a good, nice dinner.
Yeah, choices become limited to potatoes.
Yeah,
and rice.
And especially the local food, especially that becomes limited, and that's actually the cheap food, which becomes limited, and because of that, we have to go to more expensive restaurants.
Although the positive thing, if you're yourself gluten intolerant or lactose intolerant, in the big supermarkets they have gluten-free bread and they have gluten-free pasta and lactose-free yogurt. So you will not starve, you will find something for yourself in shops.
I survived.
Yeah, he
You can do it
survived.
too.
If he can do it.
You can do it. Well, and even though we did really and still do really like Turkey, well, there was a need for a change. We did feel that it was time for a change in environment, in things, in
I think we
surroundings.
really wanted to stay, but secretly we also really wanted an adventure.
Yeah,
And we just, it was so difficult. We had to arrange the apartments, the this, the that, and we thought like maybe we should go, maybe, can we? And then we're like, yay,
let's go!
let's go!
Party!
Yeah, so I think secretly we wanted to, and even with all the difficulties and negative sides that we're talking about now, I think if we really wanted to stay, we would the factors. And another major factor, which is probably one of the, after the apartments issue, the second one is getting the actual residency permit renewed. You might have heard that starting this year, it became harder and harder, and even some areas in cities became closed for foreigners. So before, when we came, we could just find an apartment, and with the rental contract we could go fix some other documents easily and apply, and that was that essentially. So I have a video about that process on my channel, and yeah, it was
fairly easy. It was straightforward. We fixed the contract for the apartment for a year, and we went to the notary, got it approved, and then we went to apply for the ICOMET, and that was basically it. We paid for some visa documents thingies.
Yeah, for taxes and we were good for the year. But now we keep reading on Facebook especially that people get rejected and people only are given 6 months, and the government asks like a travel plan for the whole year, and all the traveling booked for the whole year, so all the hotels, all the flights. And for us, we did fulfill the purpose of our residency permit, which was travel, and you can see on our channel we traveled quite a lot in this year inside of Turkey, but we didn't book it all like for the year ahead.
Yeah, no, that's not the way we like to travel.
Yeah, but it's just, it takes a lot of money to actually book all the flights for the year and all the accommodations also for the year.
That, but also a lot of preparation.
Yeah, and a lot of work.
Yeah.
So for us, that requirement was unreasonable. Maybe some other people can do it, but for us, we just
want to live the good life,
the easy life. But it is hard to book for the whole year.
Yeah,
not everyone can afford it. Yeah, and especially with the agents now asking money for the rental for the whole year, and you also have to book all your traveling for the whole year. I think it becomes quite expensive.
Yeah.
And if before foreigners chose Turkey because of affordable cost of living, with all of those expenses, it becomes not affordable at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, not many people will be able to afford it. And once we heard all of that, and that we would have to pay for the whole year and face the possibility that we will get rejected, so all that money for the apartment for the whole year will be just lost. I think. Yeah,
it's just a tiny bit too big of a risk.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a very. I mean, we can gamble, but it's too much of a gamble at the moment.
I would rather go to the casino and put it all on red, then at least I can win something instead of only lose. But this was an only lose situation, basically.
Yeah.
So
So we decided that we would rather go traveling for the next year and see what the situation will be next year.
Yeah.
We actually did talk about it, and we do want to return to Turkey again, maybe in May, June next year, to again stay for 2 months. That's the tourist visa at the moment. So yeah, maybe at some point we will consider staying in Turkey on a residency permit again if the conditions will be better, but now they are not, unfortunately. So yeah, we decided to explore new locations, to maybe find out what other places can offer to us, and we both did some traveling even before we met. But I only lived in Thailand for like maybe total of a year and a half. So I only know how it is to live in Thailand, but I don't know how it is to live in other countries for like extended periods of time. You only lived like permanently in the Netherlands. What did I not know about you? Tell me everything.
Yes, I only live permanently in the Netherlands. Actually, one of the reasons for me to quit my job was to travel, but that was before COVID. I was thinking about it for quite some years. Then before COVID, I decided, okay, I will quit my job and I will go travel. Then COVID hit. I still went through with selling my house, my apartment, but I did get another job in the Netherlands. So for some time I still stayed in the Netherlands.
So now I think our next step is to discover how it is living in other countries and checking out the affordability, the safety, all the things that might concern us as foreigners in those countries.
Yeah, and also the passport situation, of course. I mean, is it easy to go and live there? Because in some countries it's almost impossible, or you have to pay $500,000 US to get a residency or something like that.
Yeah, so this next month, maybe like 6-7 months, we're going to be exploring Southeast Asia, telling you all about it.